At 22, the world tells you that you are standing on the edge of everything. You have the degree. You have the ambition. You have a lifetime of expectations resting on your shoulders like an invisible weight. Alex was no different. He believed what we all believe at that age, that if you show up, if you try, the world will automatically open its doors for you. He didn't want wealth overnight. He just wanted a starting line, a chance to prove he could run. But sometimes, the hardest part of the journey isn't the running, it's finding a door that isn't locked from the inside. Days turned into weeks. Weeks dissolved into months. The routine was always the same. Wake up at 6:00 a.m., open the laptop, and face the digital void. 104 applications sent out into the universe. 104 times Alex poured his hopes, his history, and his value into a single PDF document only to receive the exact same automated response. Thank you for your interest, but we have decided to move forward with other candidates. It's a polite way of saying you're invisible. Consistency is easy when things are working, but consistency when you are shouting into an empty room, that is where the first cracks begin to show. It's the silence that hurts the most, the silence from companies that didn't even bother to send the automated rejection. Alex started walking the city streets, looking up at the towering glass monoliths of corporate success. He wondered what secrets the people inside held. What did they have that he didn't? Doubt is a quiet thief. It doesn't steal your dreams all at once, it chips away at them, day by day, rejection by rejection. He began to question his intelligence, his worth, his very place in society. The pressure from family, the silent judgment of peers who seemed to be moving ahead, it all piled up on his chest. And then came the moment the bank account hit zero. Reality doesn't care about your degrees or your long-term potential. Rent was due. Food was a luxury. The idealistic 22-year-old who wanted to change the world was gone. In his place stood a young man who just needed to survive. Alex realized he had to make a choice. He could let the rejection define him, or he could change his definition of what success looked like. He was about to take a job that none of his peers wanted, a job that would test every ounce of pride he had left. But true perseverance doesn't begin when you're on top, it begins on the floor. Pride is the first thing you have to lose if you want to find yourself. When the universe closed every corporate door, it left one window open. It wasn't clean. It wasn't prestigious. It smelled of rotting food, diesel exhaust, and cold metal. Alex accepted a job at a local waste management yard, a garbage collector. When he signed the contract, his hands shook not from fear of hard work, but from the crushing weight of shattered expectations. This wasn't the future he had studied for, but desperation has a way of silencing your ego. He traded his crisp interview shirts for a heavy, fluorescent orange vest. He was no longer a candidate. He was a laborer. 4:30 a.m. While the rest of the city slept, Alex's new world began. The first week was a physical assault on his body. Every muscle screamed in protest. The smell of the waste clung to his skin, his clothes, his hair a permanent reminder of his new reality. He watched his reflection in the side mirrors of the massive trucks, barely recognizing the person staring back. He knew what people thought when they saw a garbage truck pass by. They looked away. They held their breath. To society, the workers were invisible. Alex went from being digitally invisible in his bedroom to being socially invisible on the streets. The humiliation was heavy, but the work was honest. You can look at a job like this in two ways. You can see it as a prison sentence, or you can see it as a blank canvas. By week 3, the initial shock wore off, and a strange thing happened. Alex started looking up. He noticed the rhythm of the city. He saw the sun rise in ways most office workers never would. He realized that the city couldn't survive 24 hours without the men in the orange vests. It was the absolute baseline of civilization. There was a quiet dignity in it. Consistency started to change its meaning for Alex. It was no longer about sending resumes hoping for a rescue. It was about lifting the next bin with the exact same effort as the last one. 1 year passed. Then 2. Most young people who took this job as a temporary stopgap quit within the first 6 months. They couldn't handle the winters, the routine, or the stigma. But Alex stayed. He didn't just show up, he became reliable. He learned the routes by heart. He memorized which trucks had hydraulic issues. He learned the names of the mechanics. Perseverance isn't a grand, heroic gesture. It's the quiet decision to do an unglamorous job exceptionally well, day after day, long after the initial motivation has burned out. Alex was building a foundation in the mud, and unknown to him, The people running the company were finally starting to notice. By year 3, Alex no longer just rode on the back of the truck. He saw the city as a living, breathing puzzle. Waste management isn't just about picking up trash, it is a massive, complex game of logistics, timing, and fuel efficiency. Alex started noticing the flaws in their daily routes. He saw trucks crossing paths unnecessarily, wasting hours in traffic, and burning through fuel. On his own time, using a simple notebook, he began mapping out optimized routes for his sector. He was applying the critical thinking skills he learned in college to the pavement of the city. He proved that consistency isn't just mindless repetition. True consistency is the relentless pursuit of doing things better every single day. But perseverance is never a straight line up. In the third year, the dark thoughts returned. Alex attended a gathering of his old college classmates. He listened to them talk about their corporate promotions, their tech startups, and their air-conditioned office perks. When they asked Alex what he was doing, a heavy silence filled the room. That night, he sat in his apartment, staring at his graduation photo. A dangerous question crept into his mind. Am I wasting my life? Did I settle for less? The temptation to quit a long journey is always strongest right before the breakthrough. The illusion that everyone else is winning can make your own steady progress feel like standing still. Instead of quitting, Alex chose to lean deeper into his reality. When the yard manager fell ill for 2 weeks, chaos threatened the depot. Deadlines were missed, and morale dropped. Without being asked, Alex stepped into the gap. He didn't demand authority, he earned it through action. He used his optimized routing maps to reorganize the morning deployments. He stood out in the freezing rain, coordinating the drivers, speaking their language, and earning their respect because he had walked in their boots. True leaders aren't created by titles. They are forged in the moments when everyone else is looking for someone to blame, and one person steps forward to find a solution. When the regional director reviewed the depot's monthly reports, he noticed something impossible. Route Sector 4 had dropped its fuel consumption by 15%, while increasing its pickup efficiency. He called the yard manager, expecting to praise him. Instead, the manager said, "It wasn't me. It was the kid we hired 3 years ago, the one who refused to quit." Alex was called up to the main office not as an invisible laborer, but as a strategist. As he walked up the stairs, he realized that those 3 years of silent grit weren't a detour. They were the interview, and the real job was about to begin. Success rarely looks like the pictures in glossy magazines. For Alex, success was a desk overlooking the very yard where his hands used to bleed. At 26, he was promoted to logistics and operations manager for the entire district. He didn't get the job because of a polished resume or a flashy interview. He got it because he had mastered the machinery from the ground up. He knew the weight of the bends, the fatigue of the drivers, and the geometry of the streets. When he sat at his new desk, he didn't hide his old orange vest in a drawer. He kept it on the corner of his desk. It was a reminder that the view from the top only matters if you remember exactly what it felt like to sweat at the bottom. With authority came the power to execute his vision. Alex revolutionized the company's dispatch system. He implemented his optimized routes district-wide, cutting carbon emissions by 20% and saving the company millions in operational costs. But his greatest achievement wasn't a spreadsheet. He used those savings to advocate for better safety gear, higher wages, and healthcare benefits for the drivers and collectors on the front lines. He became the manager he always wished he had when he was invisible. Consistency had transformed into impact. Perseverance had turned a dead-end placement into a platform for genuine leadership. 4 years. To a 22-year-old, 4 years feels like an eternity. It feels like a lifetime to spend doing something you never planned to do. But in the grand design of a life, 4 years is just a chapter. Alex often looked back at the boy who sat in the dark, crying over automated rejection letters. If he could go back, he wouldn't change a single rejection. He wouldn't skip a single rainy morning on the back of that truck. Because the doors that corporate culture locked didn't ruin his life, they saved it. They forced him to find a reservoir of grit he never knew he possessed. The world doesn't owe you a perfect path. It just asks you what you are willing to build with the bricks it throws at you. So to anyone watching this who feels stuck, to anyone sitting in the silence of a rejection, or working a job that feels beneath your potential, look at the canvas of your life. Consistency isn't about being noticed. It's about doing the work when no one is watching. Perseverance isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to honor the mud under your feet until it turns into solid ground. Do not quit. Do not yield to the illusion that you are falling behind. Stay on the route. Keep lifting. Keep showing up, because the harvest of your consistency is coming and it will be worth every single mile. Stay resolute.